Philippines. Amazing places worth protecting before they change. The Philippines' highest peak closes annually. A famous sandbar changes shape with each tide. Their access rules reveal how quickly the wider archipelago is changing. Across the archipelago, beauty now carries a growing load. Crowded coastlines, stressed reefs, unstable volcanic ground, and construction pushing into forests and wetlands. I keep returning to one hard question. Can tourism support these places without wearing down what makes them valuable? Conservation here is not a slogan. It means visitor limits, seasonal closures, protected water, local authority, and the discipline to turn back when conditions demand it. In this video, we explore how remarkable landscapes endure, where pressure is building, and why responsible access matters more than the next travel boom. The small island framed by Tagaytay is only the most visible part of a volcanic structure many times larger. Taal occupies a caldera roughly 15 by 20 kilometers across, and its protected lake, island, and watershed cover more than 62,000 hectares. From the Cavite Ridge, the water can appear self-contained. Yet the viewpoint is geographically separate from Batangas lakeshore communities, reached by descending roads that can clog on weekends and during evacuations. Calm is only a surface condition here. In January of 2020, ashfall, volcanic gas, ground cracking, and evacuation rapidly replaced the familiar ridge view. As of August 2026, Taal remained under Alert Level 1, low-level unrest, not inactivity. Entry to Volcano Island was still prohibited, while gas emissions could still degrade air quality beyond the island. Around permitted parts of the lake, communities keep working with fertile soil, fishing, aquaculture, and tourism. That income operates under volcanic bulletins and changing access rules. Tawilis raises a second pressure. The world's only freshwater sardine supports food traditions and fishing livelihoods, but over-harvesting, damaging nets, invasive pressure, and pollution have required an annual closed season. Fish cages also provide income, but heavy stocking adds nutrients and organic waste faster than the lake can absorb them. Oxygen can then fall, increasing the risk of large fish losses across a livelihood built on water quality. The lake eventually drains through the Pansipit River toward Balayan Bay, so poor conditions do not end at the shore. What happens inside Taal belongs to a larger watershed, not a sealed tourist backdrop. The ridge view leaves out the decisive reality below. Authorized routes, fishery closures, and volcanic bulletins govern a living watershed, not a backdrop. Baguio's pine ridges create an illusion of room. Beneath them, steep slopes tighten every limit. At roughly 1,500 meters, Baguio packs roads, parks, and workshops onto steep terrain, tested by the 1990 Luzon earthquake, recurring landslides, and fast urban growth. Benguet surrounds Baguio, but does not govern it. Burnham Park, Session Road, Camp John Hay, and the Mansion preserve the city's colonial hill station plan. A different force comes from studios and markets. Weaving, wood carving, and metalwork underpin UNESCO recognition for crafts and folk art. These are living Cordilleran skills, not costumes. Reducing them to souvenirs cuts the makers out of their own work. Beyond the city, farmers cut vegetable terraces into narrow slopes and raise strawberries in highland soil. Perishable loads must move quickly toward lowland wholesale markets. Rain can close a road. Delay and transport costs then decide what reaches consumers and what income returns to the farm. Other roads reach mining communities, Ibaloi heritage, and Kabayan's sacred ancestral caves. Access and photography there require restraint. These sites are not public spectacles. Mount Pulag lies farther east, not above the city. At nearly 3,000 meters, Luzon's highest summit crosses pine forest, mossy woodland, and open grassland. Cold wind, fire risk, and concentrated hiking pressure harden the route. Separate permits, guides, road checks, and local rules apply across these locations. Baguio itself faces congestion, shrinking open space, watershed stress, waste, and unstable slopes. Growth cannot bargain with mountain ground. On these slopes, growth that ignores farms, water, or sacred ground eventually returns as congestion, erosion, and loss. Iloilo's kitchens depend on continuity. The Gigantes Islands can be cut off by a single turn in the weather. UNESCO named Iloilo the Philippines' first creative city of gastronomy in 2023. Reaching Gigantes still takes hours by road, then an exposed sea crossing. Iloilo's port grew through rice, sugar, trade, markets, and domestic kitchens. Churches, plazas, and commercial buildings survive, but daily labor keeps the culture working. La Paz Bachoy layers noodles with broth, pork offal, crushed crackling, and toppings. Pancit Molo, despite its name, is dumpling soup. The title did not crown one recipe. It recognized producers, cooks, markets, restaurants, and inherited knowledge still practiced across the city. Far northeast, Gigantes Norte and Gigantes Sur anchor a limestone group. The long road to Cales or Estancia separates city heritage from island scenery. Fishing, boatwork, and scallop gathering support households here. Cheap shellfish depends on labor, collecting, opening, cleaning, moving, and selling, and on productive fishing grounds. Tanque Lagoon fills and empties with the tide. Cabugao Gamay supplies the known hilltop view. Nearby, a modern navigation light stands beside Spanish-period lighthouse ruins. The famous views hide hard limits. Freshwater, reefs, endemic forest species, and waste capacity all come under pressure when visitor numbers rise too quickly. Super Typhoon. Haiyan devastated homes and boats in 2013. It showed how little margin a small fishing community holds when extreme weather overwhelms local capacity. Wind and waves can halt boats, and sites may close for rehabilitation. Registered operators, life jackets, landing rules, and carrying waste to the mainland make access possible. A meal in the city and a scallop landing in Gigantes share a hidden condition. Local labor must retain enough value and authority to continue. Before Intramuros had walls, Manila was already a trading settlement. Intramuros covers roughly 64 hectares at the mouth of the Pasig River, where Manila already linked inland traffic, Manila Bay, and wider maritime routes before 1571. That river position was the prize. Chinese goods, Mexican silver, and colonial authority moved through this narrow hinge between the interior and the sea. Stone walls and bastions later compressed power into a district small enough to cross on foot. Gates, plazas, churches, schools, and government buildings concentrated political and religious authority. Fort Santiago guarded the river entrance from ground, once defended by Raja Suleiman's palisades. The stone walls did not begin Manila's history. They covered an older one. San Agustin Church is part of a World Heritage property. Manila Cathedral, rebuilt after earthquakes, fire, and conflict, shows why preserving this district requires engineering as well as memory. Intramuros is therefore not an untouched Spanish town. Original stone stands beside buildings reconstructed or adapted after immense damage. José Rizal spent his final weeks held in Fort Santiago in 1896. In February and March of 1945, urban conflict destroyed most of Intramuros, while roughly 100,000 civilians were lost across Manila. Restoration since 1979 manages more than appearance. Rules for construction, archaeology, earthquakes, fire, and other hazards protect fragile masonry in a living capital. Students, worshippers, residents, workers, and visitors still share these blocks. Churches remain active sacred spaces. Old stone is not a bench, shortcut, or climbing frame. The duty is concrete. Protect every layer without turning Intramuros into a tourism prop. Local rules keep this living district public, active, and intact. Mayan's near-perfect cone is built from repeated upheaval, not calm. Rising nearly 2,500 meters above Albay, it is the Philippines' most active volcano, assembled layer by layer from lava and broken volcanic material. That symmetry can mislead. Lava, ashfall, fast ground-hugging flows of hot gas and debris, and rockfalls can push pressure beyond its clean outline. Rain extends the threat. It can remobilize loose volcanic deposits into lahars, driving mud and debris down river channels, even after eruptive activity changes. Around the cone, communities farm fertile volcanic soil while keeping evacuation routes ready. The same mountain that feeds fields also dictates roads, drills, and daily decisions. At Cagsawa, a bell tower and masonry remains mark, where an 18th century Franciscan church stood until the 1814 eruption. The ruin turns Mayon's long activity into a record of what settlements must endure. Quitande's irregular green hills offer a different geometry, but Mayon still controls the horizon when cloud allows it. The summit often disappears, refusing the promise of a guaranteed photograph. Cloud is not a defect in the landscape. It is the climate setting the terms. The stronger boundary lies on the ground. Current FIVOLCS bulletins, local closures, and the 6-kilometer permanent danger zone matter more than any route or image. During increased unrest, officials may widen restrictions or close specific channels, because lahars and other hazards do not obey a perfect circle. Authorized viewpoints preserve access without turning an inhabited danger zone into a climbing attraction. That discipline is part of life around Mayon. Farmers, families, and emergency planners carry the weight of every alert. A clearer, closer view is never worth moving families, guides, or rescuers nearer to the next hazard. Palawan's clearest water hides its hardest boundary. The more people it draws, the less pressure its narrow lagoons and reefs can absorb. This province stretches from Puerto Princesa to El Nido and Coron, separate travel zones linked by long roads, ferries, and flights. Not one continuous resort coast. Beneath Puerto Princesa, an underground river runs for about 8 kilometers through limestone before meeting the sea. Boats enter only an authorized section, where chambers, mineral formations, and bat roosts remain protected from unrestricted traffic. Capacity limits are not inconvenience dressed as policy. Weather, sea conditions, darkness, and confined passages set physical limits that marketing cannot negotiate. Farther north, El Nido compresses clear water, steep karst, and tiny beaches into tight spaces. Boat routes and landing rules spread pressure before narrow entrances and small shores are simply overrun. Nearby Il Cave carries evidence of human activity from roughly 11,000 years ago, near the end of the last ice age. That depth of time makes mass tourism look sudden and powerful. Around Coron, coral now coats Japanese shipwrecks lost during a United States Navy operation in September 1944. They are historic structures, dive sites, and fragile marine habitat at once. Barracuda Lake adds another hidden limit. Fresh water rests above salt water, and certified divers crossing the temperature layers can move from about 31 to 38 degrees Celsius. Many of Coron's signature cliffs and lakes stand within Tagbanwa ancestral domain. Community rules govern access. They are not optional etiquette. Anchoring controls, waste limits, certified diving, and closures do not diminish Palawan. They keep visitor growth from consuming the conditions it sells. The deeper boundary is authority. Around Coron, Tagbanwa communities who sustain these waters must set tourism's terms. The same Pacific swell that built Bela's surf identity can also close mountain roads and make an inland river trail unstable. At Sabang Beach, surfing is recognized by Philippine law, while seasonal weather, tides, and storm systems can shift the water from lesson ground to expert territory. That change is not cosmetic. Local instructors read the current, separate boards from swimmers, and control crowded near-shore water before enthusiasm outruns judgment. Baylor's famous connection to Apocalypse Now remains surf lore, not proof written into the law. That distinction matters when tourism turns a good story into official history. Aurora's isolation is physical. Roads crossing or following the Sierra Madre face heavy rain, fog, landslides, and closures as the range catches weather moving in from the Pacific. Behind that coast, forest and mountain feed rivers and waterfalls with heavy Pacific rainfall. Aurora Memorial Park protects roughly 5,700 hectares, with roots reaching back to 1937. Dito Mabo Falls lies in San Luis, not Bala, beyond a trail that repeatedly crosses the stream. Rain upstream can raise the current and erase secure footing. History carries the same lesson about exposure. Baylor Church recalls the standoff of 1898 to 1899, while Ermita Hill preserves the memory of families who reached higher ground during the coastal emergency of 1735. Aurora is also the homeland of Alta and Dumagat communities. Consent, accurate credit, and community authority are not production courtesies. They are the terms for recording living cultures. Pagasa forecasts, road notices, local guides, and protected area rules connect every part of this landscape. They govern when surf, roads, and river trails remain within safe limits. The practical lesson is simple. When instructors, forecasts, or guides say conditions have changed, the itinerary changes with them. An island known for calm blue water stands on volcanic ground that remains active. Compact Camiguin contains 4 overlapping stratovolcanoes described by the Smithsonian, plus several domes and cones, while Five Oaks keeps Mount Hibok under watch. That geology explains the island's physical layout: a steep interior, fertile soil, springs at different temperatures, and communities pressed into a narrow coastal belt. A ring road ties together ports, towns, farms, waterfalls, and eruption landmarks. It does more than move traffic. It holds daily life against the slopes. Offshore, White Island looks permanent from a distance. It is an uninhabited, shade-free sandbar whose outline and exposed area shift with tides and currents. Weather and sea conditions decide whether boats depart. No marketing schedule can overrule open water. The rules there are basic because the margin is small. Carry sun protection, remove every food wrapper, and leave no waste for the next tide. Inland, Katibawasan Falls drops about 70 meters into a cool pool beneath forest. Its water depends on the same volcanic high ground that feeds farms and settlements. At Bonbon, The large cross above the sunken cemetery marks a coastline physically lowered during Mount Vulcan's eruption in 1871. Part of Old Cataman's coast slipped below the sea. The boat stop is therefore not just scenery, but a record of displaced ground and community. Volcanic soil supports land zones, orchards, and local coffee. Camiguin's food traditions also include pastel buns with a milk and egg yolk yema filling. In October, the Land Zones Festival carries that harvest into parades and street dancing. Festival dates vary each year, another reminder that local calendars matter more than visitor assumptions. Camiguin establishes the film's paradox. Tourism depends on a shifting sandbar, a working watershed, and volcanic ground that cannot absorb unlimited pressure. Iligan's waterfall image conceals a working energy system. At Maria Cristina, the Agus River drops nearly 100 meters on its route from Lake Lanao toward Iligan Bay. A large boulder divides the flow into twin curtains before the river feeds Agus 6 within the wider Agus Pulangi hydroelectric complex. The distinction is important. One dramatic fall does not power most of Mindanao by itself. Its force joins a much larger chain of waterworks. Upstream conditions and management decisions reach all the way into the view. Because generation regulates flow, Maria Cristina's visible volume can change. Access is not casual either. Visits require advance arrangements with the Iligan City Tourism Office. Infrastructure sets the timetable, not tourist demand. The waterfall route is not one continuous leisure trail. It moves south from the urban center toward Buruun and the Agus River corridor. At Mimbalot, water spreads across a broad rock face through smaller cascades and shallow basins. Wading depends on conditions. Conventional pools sit in the adjacent eco-park. That separation matters. Under heavy rain, current can strengthen rapidly and cloud water that looked calm moments earlier. Tinago Falls demands a different kind of effort. Roughly 500 steps descend to a lagoon beneath a 73-meter drop. Swimming and guided raft rides may operate when local conditions allow. The return is a steep climb, and wet stairs add strain even in clear weather. Springs and falls are working parts of a watershed, not guaranteed amusement sites. Wet rock remains slippery even in clear weather, and local guidance must determine whether pools, stairs, or crossings are safe. Iligan's water is working water first, a watershed for power, safety, and daily life before it is an itinerary. One of Sagada's most photographed sites requires visitors to stay back. Cliff-set coffins and cave burials belong to particular Apply or Northern Cancanay families and beliefs. They are sacred sites, not mummies or visitor props. A long drive reaches this high town on winding Cordillera roads, commonly through Baguio or Bontoc. Fog, landslides, and roadwork can stretch that journey without warning. that difficult approach does not preserve a museum. Sagada is a working town where farming, weaving, guiding, lodging, and food businesses tie income to land and visitors. Beneath the ridges, water has widened fractures in limestone into the chambers and confined passages of Camiguin and Lumiang. The change is slow, but hazards are immediate. Polished rock, drops, deep pools, low ceilings. Rain falling far from an entrance can change water conditions below. Accredited guides and weather checks are therefore basic protection in passages that can shift while groups are underground. Above ground, paths to valleys and waterfalls cross vegetable plots, coffee-growing areas, pine forest, and community-managed land. A temporary closure may be protecting a ritual, a crop, a watershed, or public safety. Tourism brings essential earnings, then pushes back with more waste, traffic, water demand, worn paths, and damaged cave surfaces. The more quickly Sagada is consumed as an image, the more pressure falls on the people who maintain the place behind it. I see the municipal tourism office, accredited guides, closure notices, and distance rules as local control, not inconvenience. They keep hands and footfall away from coffins, mineral formations, farms, and water sources that cannot absorb unlimited attention. The boundary is visible in what visitors leave untouched: coffins, cave surfaces, farms, forest, and water still under community control. The landscape often sold as untouched is actually a working homeland, where food, culture, and tourism all draw from the same limited water. Across 3 lakes, forests, farms, wetlands, and waterfalls, Taboli and Ubo-Manobo communities manage ground that must support both livelihoods and biodiversity. In July 2026, Lake Cebu became the Philippines' first FAO village. The recognition honors sustainable farming and the conservation of 102 traditional rice varieties. The recognition matters because it names the work, sustaining farms while keeping traditional rice diversity alive. Tinalak carries that work into cloth. Taboli makers weave abaca fiber by hand, preserving knowledge held by named people, not anonymous imagery. Filming makers, chants, or ceremonies requires permission, fair payment, and context. Those terms keep living culture from becoming decoration for another person's journey. At the 7 Falls, a zipline turns ravines and cascades into an attraction, concentrating visitors where safe use still depends on weather, maintenance, and local decisions. The larger watershed was reserved in 1985 to protect Allah Valley's water supply. Pressure at the lake therefore reaches far beyond the shoreline. Fishing, cultivation, and tourism already share this water. That overlap brings water quality and carrying capacity concerns. Calling the lake pristine hides the management already required. Boat routes, trails, and zipline operations can change with weather and local decisions. Closures hold fragile ground and working water within safer limits. Authentic cloth bought directly from cultural bearers keeps value and authority closer to its source. Low-impact conduct around wildlife protects another part of the same homeland. I see Lake Cebu's real distinction here. Its beauty endures only when community authority, watershed limits, and cultural consent outrank visitor volume. The world's largest fish can enter Donsol Bay without offering a single guaranteed encounter. Whale sharks usually appear from November to June, often most frequently from March to May, yet plankton, currents, and migration decide each arrival. That uncertainty is central to Donsol's conservation model. A wild animal is not reduced to an appointment. Boats carry trained local crews and bootanding interaction officers, many linked to fishing families whose knowledge now supports tourism and research. Before anyone enters the water, the rules shift priority from the photograph back to the animal. Several meters of distance are required. Touching, riding, feeding, blocking its path, and flash photography are forbidden. Researchers collect another form of evidence. Photographs of the spot patterns beside the gills help distinguish one individual from another. The bay belongs to a much larger protected body of water. The Ticao-Boreas Pass protected seascape covers more than 400,000 hectares across waters linking Sorsogon, Albay, and Masbate. A protected boundary cannot control every propeller or remove every strand of fishing gear. Chemicals and crowded encounters can still disrupt a migratory animal. The local crews therefore do more than operate boats. They translate fishing knowledge into distance, timing, restraint, and enforcement on water that never follows a fixed schedule. On the water, Donsol's bargain is enforced in real time. A crew may slow, redirect, or end an encounter when the shark changes course. This is Sorsogon's harder measure of success, not the closest photograph, nor the highest boat count, but a migration route kept open and undisturbed. The best encounter ends with the whale shark's path unchanged. Weather, not distance, controls movement among Bataan, Sabtang, and Itbayat. Between the Philippine Sea and the Luzon Strait, even a short crossing can become an open-ended wait. Bataan holds the main airport and road network. Sabtang usually requires a weather-dependent crossing from Ivana, while Itbayat demands more exposed air or sea travel. Delay is part of this geography. Forcing a schedule against local closures shifts pressure onto crews, boats, and small communities. The surrounding islets and waters have formed a protected landscape and seascape since 1994. Farms, fishing grounds, villages, and transport all share limited land and weather. Ivatan building knowledge answers that exposure with mass and restraint. Thick stone walls, lime mortar, small openings and steep kogon roofs reduce the force of wind and rain. They also demand constant upkeep. Salt-laden wind accelerates wear, and repairs need skilled labor, kogon, stone, lime, and enough income to keep those materials moving. Adaptation continues beyond the house. Vakul and Talugong shield farmers in open fields, while hedges and low stone boundaries protect root crops, garlic, cattle, and other agriculture. Seasonal fishing rests on the same discipline. Currents and safe launching conditions, not tourist expectations, decide when boats should move. Resilience does not mean immunity. Typhoons disrupt flights and crossings, and the July 2019 Itbayat earthquakes damaged homes and historic structures. Batanes is often called a World Heritage Site, but that is incorrect. It has remained on the Philippine tentative list since 1993. Low-impact travel uses registered services, avoids closed waters, limits plastic, and seeks permission around homes, farms, pastures, and sacred places. Batanes can welcome tourism only while island capacity and Ivatan authority outrank visitor demand. These celebrated rice terraces can fail when a single water channel breaks. At Batad, roughly 1,100 meters above sea level, every planted slope depends on water carried down from managed upland forest. This is not a monument assembled once. It is a working Ifugao landscape of paddies, villages, forest, and irrigation. Families and neighbors clear channels, control the flow, and rebuild earthen and stone walls through every planting cycle. Gravity moves the water. Human labor keeps its route open. That is the engineering achievement. A steep mountainside made productive without cutting farming away from the forest that supplies it. The familiar claim that all these fields are 2,000 years old is too neat. The tradition is ancient, but individual terraces were built and expanded at different times. UNESCO inscribed 5 representative clusters in 1995, including Batad and Bangan within Banaue. Recognition repairs nothing. That burden remains on the slope. Tinawan rice is harvested once a year, tying each crop to long labor and narrow income. Hudud narratives remain part of community life, connecting agriculture with Ifugao memory. Now the weak points are multiplying. Outmigration and declining farm income reduce the hands available for repair, while erosion, drought, and intense rain wear down the ground itself. In November 2025, a landslide damaged part of Batad and its irrigation. The impact exposed a hard truth. Scenic fame cannot substitute for functioning channels and paid local work. Low-impact visits can support that labor. Local guides, designated paths, permission before filming farmers or rituals, and purchases of local rice or crafts. Each choice keeps pressure off fields and money within the community. At Batad, conservation must outrank tourist demand, because once the water stops, the terraces weaken. Apo Island changed marine conservation by showing how much can depend on one very small reef. Apo covers only about 70 hectares, yet more than 4 decades of coral and fish surveys have made this inhabited volcanic island an influential example of community-led protection. Dumaguete faces the Bohol Sea as a university city, not a resort capital. Its waterfront, Old Belfry, and Silliman University mark the starting point, but Apo lies south. The usual route runs by road to Malatapai, then into a small outrigger boat. Wind and waves decide both the crossing and the landing. Protection began in 1982 through cooperation between residents and marine scientists linked to Silliman. Only 16 islanders initially joined the Reef Management Committee. In 1994, national protection expanded across nearly 700 hectares of land and water. Within no-take zones, fish can live longer and reproduce, while adults and larvae moving outward may support nearby fishing. This is conservation tied to work. Guiding, rooms, boats, and regulated tourism bring income to a community with limited landing space, freshwater, electricity, and waste capacity. But Apo is not untouched. Cyclones damaged parts of the sanctuary in 2011 and 2012. Warming, disease, anchors, contact, and concentrated visits still press the reef. Green turtles may graze near shore, but no sighting is staged or guaranteed. Their freedom is the point. Local guides, closed zones, distance from turtles, and a strict ban on standing on coral turn restraint into reef protection. These rules keep pressure within the island's limits. Apo's test is practical. If the island community cannot control boats, contact water, and waste, tourism has exceeded the reef's limits. The Philippines' highest ground rises behind a metropolis, yet every climb must yield to the mountain's limits. Mount Apo reaches nearly 3,000 meters, and its protected landscape spreads across nearly 55,000 hectares in Davao, Davao del Sur, and Cotabato. Davao City is the gateway, not the mountain's owner. Cagayawan presents 11 ethno-linguistic communities, proof that this region holds many living identities. Above the agricultural edges, montane and mossy forests give way to volcanic rock and sulfur vents. The shift is physical and severe. Apo is not an extinct cone. Phivolcs classifies it as potentially active, which describes geological capacity, not an imminent eruption. Its forests shelter the Philippine eagle and many endemic species. They are also ancestral and sacred territory, with indigenous rights written into the park's governing law. Protection on paper cannot stop every pressure on the ground. Fire, forest conversion, waste, and concentrated climbing still press against the same narrow habitats. As of mid-August 2026, trekking and camping are closed through the end of the month for the annual ecological off-season. The pause gives damaged ground and wildlife room to recover. When routes reopen, Permits, registered guides, daily limits, and local weather decisions remain mandatory. Current security advice also matters before a route is chosen. On the trail, conservative pacing reduces avoidable strain. Zero-waste camping keeps food, plastic, and human pressure from remaining after the climbers leave. A summit photograph lasts seconds. Damage at this elevation can outlive a tourist season. When the off-season closes the trail, the correct response is not to find another route. It is to let the mountain recover. Siargao's most famous wave breaks over a reef that can be weakened by the attention it attracts. At Cloud 9, powerful Pacific swell folds across a shallow reef, while the island's western mangroves blunt part of that same ocean force. That contrast defines Siargao. The breaks around General Luna built the island's global surf identity, but its future also rests in quieter waterways around Del Carmen and Sugba Lagoon. Cloud 9 is not a forgiving stage. Barreling water and a reef close beneath the surface demand experienced surfers, local knowledge, and respect for changing tides. The same rule governs Magpupunco. Low tide opens rock pools for swimming and snorkeling. High water and rough seas cover them, making timing a safety boundary rather than a convenience. Sugba Lagoon makes the limit even clearer. It closes every year from January 10th through February 10th, and kayaking, paddleboarding, swimming, and use of its diving platform remain subject to local advisories. A closure can look restrictive. In reality, it gives the lagoon time without constant human pressure and confirms that access is conditional, not automatic. Del Carmen's mangrove forest carries far more weight than a postcard view. Across thousands of hectares, roots shelter young fish, lock away carbon, and reduce some storm and wave energy. This is natural infrastructure, built slowly and easily cut back. Protecting mangroves supports fisheries and reduces part of the force pressing inland. Typhoon. Odette exposed the island's narrow margin in 2021, damaging homes, vegetation, and tourism infrastructure. Today, freshwater demand, waste, reef contact, and shoreline development add a slower pressure. Siargao's future depends on accepting closed days, finite freshwater, protected mangroves, and reefs that cannot take unlimited contact. Fireflies, not flames, gave Siquijor its island of fire legend. Its ring road now binds small towns, beaches, marine sanctuaries, forest and historic religious buildings into a lived landscape. That road does more than shorten distance. It breaks the easiest myth about Siquijor. This is not a collection of supernatural attractions, but an island of working communities. Folk healing here draws on prayer, massage, herbal knowledge, and preparations tied to particular seasons and families. Reducing all of it to witchcraft strips skill and belief from the families who carry it. Around Holy Week, public events may bring healers and herbalists together. The gathering is living knowledge in public, not proof of the stereotype attached to the island. In Lazi, folklore places spirits around an old belate tree and its spring-fed pool. Claims that the tree is 4 or 5 centuries old have not been scientifically established. Nearby, San Isidro Labrador Church and its large historic convent hold another layer of Siquijore's identity. Catholic heritage stands beside healing practice, farming, and the sea. None cancels the others. At Camiguin Falls, 3 tiers feed turquoise pools used for swimming and rope swings. Wet stone, sudden rain, changing water levels, and crowded jumping areas turn local safety rules into practical protection. The coast carries the quieter pressure. White sand and clear water draw activity toward reefs, where an anchor, a hand on coral, or disturbed wildlife can leave lasting damage. Community-managed marine areas answer that pressure with boundaries. They keep access possible by refusing the idea that every clear pool, reef edge, or living surface is open for use. The mystic label should open curiosity, not access without limit. Reefs, falls, and healing traditions remain under community care. Maps give 100 islands a fixed count. The sea decides what is actually accessible. At low tide, records list 124 islands. At high tide, only 123 remain above the water. Across nearly 1,800 hectares of Lingayen Gulf, this shifting count is not trivia. Tides redraw beaches, cave entrances, landing space, and exposed rock. Ancient coral limestone was lifted, then ground by rain, salt, waves, and living growth. That pressure cut cliffs, caves, and the undercut profiles that define the park. But the same water that shaped this landscape still controls access. Wind and waves can shut routes quickly when small boats cross exposed water. Protection began under President Manuel L. Quezon, then widened to Lucap Bay as construction and intensive use pressed against the wider marine habitat. Lucap Wharf now turns access into disciplined movement, registration, assigned boats, designated routes. An island that looks reachable is not automatically open for landing. Facilities stay concentrated on a handful of established stops. Many formations remain closed or lack safe landing ground, protecting more than bare rock. Below the surface, coral, seagrass, fish, and restored giant clams carry the greater burden. Visitor pressure disappears when boats leave. Damage to slow marine growth can remain for years. Giant clam restoration requires hatcheries, transplantation, monitoring, and local enforcement. It is patient work, easily reversed by anchors, trampling, collecting, litter, or crowded snorkeling grounds. The discipline sits behind the view. Local operators and park rules convert a crowded gateway into controlled access, while the sea retains final authority. A better view is not worth crossing a closed landing, dragging an anchor, or undoing another year of clam restoration work. Pink sand survives by accumulation and disappears one removed handful at a time. On protected Great Santa Cruz Island, red organ pipe coral fragments mix with pale sand, while authorized tours and current security arrangements control access. Zamboanga faces the Basilan Strait, and its earlier name, Zamboangan, is associated with the mooring places of seafaring communities. The city was built by movement across water, not by isolation. That history still speaks through Chavacano, a Creole with much of its vocabulary from Spanish and a structure shaped by Philippine languages and centuries of contact. Even Bougainvillea has a local name, Bougainvillea. Fort Pilar compresses another long contest over place. Begun as a Spanish fort in 1635, it now links military history, a national museum presence, and an active Marian shrine outside its walls. That layered city faces a physical limit: waste and crowding press reefs, mangroves and shorelines that cannot expand with visitor demand. Along parts of the coast, bamboo stilt houses in Sama communities remain homes within a living maritime tradition. They are not scenery detached from work, family, and the sea. Off Panubigan and Dita, once Islas means 11 islands. Fishing settlements and community-managed visits place local Moro and Sama Banguingui cultures at the center, where control belongs. In Pasobolong, the scale shifts hard. Sadiq Grand Mosque carries a monumental central dome, 4 minarets, and a reported capacity of about 45,000, intended to make it the largest mosque in the Philippines. Final work continued in early 2026, even as the mosque welcomed worshippers. Its scale marks a living center of faith. A visit succeeds only if coral stays on the shore, mangroves remain rooted, and coastal communities retain control. The Philippines does not need to choose between welcome and protection. It needs tourism that accepts physical limits. A reef needs recovery time. A mountain trail needs rest. A village needs control over its water, roads, and sacred ground. I believe the strongest journeys begin with that restraint, not with unlimited access. The warning is plain. If demand sets the pace, fragile places will be reshaped for short seasons of profit, while communities carry the lasting strain. If local rules set the pace, tourism can fund guides, habitat repair, heritage work, and safer access without taking command of the landscape. That choice reaches far beyond one archipelago. It tests whether this age can value natural wealth without consuming the foundations that sustain it. Let this standard guide the next journey. Favor places where access protects land and water. Local rules carry real weight, and every visit leaves room for recovery rather than adding pressure.